National Chess Master R. Rats here to continue my video series on the correspondence TeamMatch074, played between my video lessons group and the team CARPE DIEM. This was played on board 103. Our rating advantage is about high 1700s versus low 1600s. Our man is FreezyKing. And unfortunately, there's not much to these two games, but we can get a lesson from it. We'll see what goes wrong here for spedio in both games. White plays what we call the old Indian defense, or a sub-variation thereof. Often, Black allows the E file to or D file to open up, and his queen can get traded, and his king loses castling privileges. I don't think this is one of those lines. Okay, now we go into a King's Indian type formation, and White starts to drift here in a moment. Black now makes an effort to gain the bishop pair, and White plays to preserve it. And now White just brings his knight back. And here's where White starts to drift and really goes wrong. The logical move to play is to castle. Okay, it's perfectly good. It's perfectly logical. Instead, we see one of these moves that I've been speaking so dreadfully against, h3. Okay, absolutely terrible move. All right, and I'm criticizing it every chance I get. What does it do? Black just brought his knight back from g4. He's not going back. Okay, Black certainly isn't getting ready to put a bishop on g4. And what good will it do when it gets there? It can't get there in the first place. It's blocked. Just develop. Don't weaken your pawn structure. Castle. Get your development completed before undergoing operations. And here, Black starts trying to get counterplay. He's attacking a pawn because White's lost the tempo here, and he's getting ready to anchor this knight in with a5. And what White should do is maybe he can't do it. Can he defend this pawn again? Kind of hard now. So White goes for counterplay and goes after the h pawn. Now Black just makes a trade. He's going to give up his h pawn. But let's see. What if Black played king h7? I was analyzing through this already, and I was thinking that White could defend that pawn on e4, but he really can't. Is Black threatening to win a pawn? Perhaps. And what's the culprit here? Well, this is partly the culprit. The misplaced bishop is taking d2 away. The bishop could have gone to d3 instead of playing h3. You got me. But here, how does White defend that pawn? Okay, I guess he can do it this way. He can put the queen on b1 or even c2. But Black has the option. He decides that he's just gonna take this pawn off. He'll trade a wing pawn for a center pawn. Also, this gives him a chance to get rid of his really bad bishop. So this is a good plan for Black. Okay, now White needs to regain his pawn, and Black starts undergoing operations in the center. He's going to try to break open the White center, and Black is quite happy with this exchange. White has just done him a favor, gotten rid of Black's bad piece. So here, the absence of castling that White admitted is going to haunt him. It's going to cost him the game. See, White could have been castled here, and that pawn could have been back on h2. That pawn is accomplishing absolutely nothing there. Okay, and this would still be a good time to castle. d5 might become a problem, but it might not. Black could set up his pieces to attack it, but White should have defenders. So White brings his queen up, and suddenly here comes a check. Now, if White had castled, he wouldn't be in check, right? So he breaks the check rather than losing his castling privileges. But now White's in trouble. Bishop comes to f5, and Black's got some threats. and white doesn't find the solution and gets himself immediately a lost game. He plays a3, and now just a simple tactic. Knight takes f2, tempoing on the queen. Queen gets out of danger. Black happily trades queens and collects a rook, and black is a rook ahead. And there's the game. I mean, in a nutshell, had white castled and not weakened his position, this wouldn't have happened, or at least maybe black wouldn't have gotten his knight out of there. He's getting to g3 because because white pushed that pawn. Okay, so when you push those rook pawns, you're making weaknesses, and you're not helping your position or your development. Let's look at the other game, and there's not much to that either. And I don't know how many games white is playing, or Spedio was playing, but I'm sure he's playing quite a few, or he's just not paying attention to his games. Look at that. He won't put it on move 1. You can see the decisive position there for a second. Okay, so like I say, I don't check everybody to see how many of their games are going. I just know that it's a lot of work to doing what I'm doing. I don't stop and check, well, how many games has this guy got going? It's kind of obvious, having examined countless of these online correspondence games and seeing the blunders I've seen, and seeing enough players with tons of games in their history, they're just playing too many games, and they're missing. Nobody's taught them the correct way to play correspondence chess. That's where I come in. Okay, so let's see what happens here. We get the Buddhist pest defense, and this always leads to some lively games. And I'm not sure where opening theory ends, but black has regained his pawn, and he's got some reasonable development. But all of a sudden things change here. The development stops. And it seems at this point black has just blundered the game away. What he needed to play was, I believe, pawn takes. And, if the queen gets traded, the queen gets traded, okay? If you lose castling privileges, you lose castling privileges. Because white has a trick here. It's not necessarily an obvious move to see, but nonetheless it works. Now black discovers to his horror that if he plays bishop takes b4, white captures this knight first, protecting the knight on c3, and on the recapture, white gains a piece. So black comes back, and then white picks up trades off the knight, and trades, excuse me, boy, I sneezed so many times. Okay, white trades queens happily, destroying black's castling privileges, and then traps the bishop. And here we have it. Game over. Black plays on a few moves, but he's just down a piece, and he has no play for it. And now he's going to lose more material. He tries to defend c7, but it's pretty much the same theme. Go win the rook in the corner with the knight. He's fallen 2 games to this trick. Whoops. And now black's just down a whole rook, and they play a couple of moves. And I'm sorry the video is not going to be very long or instructive. What went wrong here? What went wrong for black? Well, maybe bishop c5, maybe this, or d6. Maybe that's the problem. Let's see. Does he have to play d6? Objectively, you don't want to develop the white queen. What are the alternatives? Well, you could play knight g6. Okay, threaten to pick up the bishop pair. This can come back to g3, and I suppose, and then black castles. Any attempt to try to capitalize on c7 shouldn't work because black can throw d6 in and block the diagonal of the bishop. So if you're playing a book opening, keep using the resources and get it right. Like I say, I don't know exactly where it diverged from book, but you're allowed to do this, and it's a perfect way to learn an opening. You shouldn't have a lost game at move 9. Okay, you shouldn't have a lost game at move 9. I don't think black has a defense here. His bishop's attacked. Again, he can't take because this falls, and here comes the check. And black can't generate any kind of sufficient counterplay. So Uh, his D6 probably wasn't correct. What was the other choice I said? Take back with the pawn? Okay, let's look at that. Okay, queen takes. Black either has to lose a pawn or give up castling privileges. Well, I'd rather give up castling privileges than lose a rook. I mean, lose a piece. It ended up being a rook, I think. But what can White do here? Well, I don't know if the check's all that useful, but you could do it. You could play knight g5 and menace f7, but I think Black should have resources there. Let's just castle with check because we can. And, we got a game of chess to play, ladies and gentlemen. It's that simple. If you analyze your games, you'll see these tactics. White found the tactics. Give White credit. White took his time and found the moves. Black didn't take his time and was punished quickly. Okay, short video. Sorry about that. I like more interesting games, but the lessons are here. And if you're watching this whole series, how many of these games have been decided early because somebody didn't analyze or somebody didn't pick up a book or database and solve the opening problems? All right, thanks for your time.